Good evening. We're going to go ahead and get started. First, thank everybody for being here this evening. I wish it was under better circumstances, but I'm glad to see the room is finally packed with people who are interested in what's going on with the city. So this is going to be a very detailed report that I intend to present to you today. Obviously, at the end, we're going to have a question and answer series. This is not just me standing here giving you information. We're going to have some honest dialogue about what's going on in the city so that we can all have an understanding, well, not only what the issues are, but hopefully for some solutions as to how we address some of our issues. All right? Again, the QR code that is up there is, if you would like a copy of the presentation, we request that you scan that. You can go on and fill out the form, and we will email a copy of that out to you. My name is Stephen Jenkins. I'm the Chief of Police for the City of Portsmouth, your Chief of Police. All right, I want to say again, thank you for being here. And as we get into this presentation, we'll start out with our agenda. So our agenda is we're going to go over our year-to-date numbers as well as the numbers for our third quarter. That third quarter is July 1st, 2024 until September 30th, 2024. We'll discuss some of our homicides that we have in the 3-year comparison. We'll have a sampling of overall crime events and recent violence that has occurred within the city. I'm going to explain to you how we use data to drive our actions within the city, as well as how that data affects our calls for service. We're also going to talk about specifically what we've already done and things that we are doing to increase our response times. I'm going to provide an update to you on our current recruiting and staffing levels. And then we're going to address the street takeovers. We're going to also talk about online reporting, and finally we'll get into the question and answering. All right, so our numbers for violent crime as it relates to January 1st, 2024 to September 30th, 2024, when compared to the same time last year, 2023, at this point we are at a 15% crime reduction for violent crime. Now, you'll note that we've had 6 victims, 7 incidents, 6 victims of homicide within that time period. We have also had an increase in shooting to occupied dwellings, which represent, we went from two shootings to 13, okay, which is a significant increase, and we'll talk about some of those as we move further. Same time period as it relates to property crime, we've experienced a 16% reduction in property crimes. Our driving numbers right now for property crimes, which is a little unusual, is we've had what we are characterized as a purse snatching. We went from 1 incident to 4 incidents based on the same time last year. Now, what's significant about these aren't what you would consider your typical purse snatchings where you would, in your thought process, think of an older lady having her pocketbook taken. These are all generally known offenders, more like robberies than anything. And obviously, some of the reports that we get aren't necessarily truthful, whether you might believe that or not. So again, we do have some positive news overall with the reduction in our property crimes. Our our overall numbers as it relates to both our property crimes and our violent crimes, at this point we are reporting a 16% reduction in overall crime for the city for the third quarter. If our year ended today, we would have reduced our crime by 18% overall year to date. So again, I understand when we have these situations that occur, but I can assure you it's not all doom and gloom. However, as we move forward within this presentation, we're going to talk about some special incidents that have occurred and how we intend and how we have and intend to continue to try to address them. Homicides. Year to date, we're at 33 homicides. When compared to last year, we were at 34 this time last year. Now, we do have some of these that have been reclassified as justifiable shootings. Now, one in particular was one that occurred on North Street. If you may remember, that was an individual that attempted to break into a home, and the individual was actually there. That individual defended not only his life, and subsequently the individual succumbed to his injuries. That was ruled a justifiable homicide. We'll go over a couple of more of these. So we had a homicide on July the 7th that occurred on Fayette Street. At this time, there are no known suspects, and the circumstances of that homicide are unknown. We also had a homicide at 1416 Maple Avenue. We currently have, that was a robbery attempt, known acquaintance. We currently have warrants on file for that individual's arrest. As I said, the one at 715 North Street was cleared justifiable. We have another homicide that occurred at 301 Ansel Avenue. That homicide is still active with no known suspects at this time. Another homicide occurred September 24th in the 300 block of Gilmerton Avenue. That was a dispute between two known individuals, and arrest was made of that homicide. And then there was another homicide that occurred September 29th in the 600 block of Lansing Avenue. This was a robbery that was set up by known acquaintance, attempted to rob the individual of his, what they believed that he had money, which he did not, stole his vehicle. Based on technology that we invested in heavily, we were able to track that vehicle. Vehicle was seen several times traveling within Norfolk. We were able to identify the suspects and arrest them. We'll be talking quite a bit about the use of our technology and how it has benefited us. Our homicide clearance rate for the year to date, is at 60%. Now, when we think about the clearances that we do have, I have to thank the public, I have to thank my detectives for the hard work that they've been doing to clear and bring these individuals to justice, but also get justice for these families. But we could clear so many more homicides if we had more public involvement. Now, obviously, I know that there is always a concern about retaliation. But as I've said before, standing here before you, all it takes for evil to continue to prevail is for a good man to do nothing. And so I implore individuals that have information as it relates to gun violence and homicides, please make sure when you have an opportunity, reach out to us and provide that information. You can still do it anonymously. You can use Crime Line, 1-800-LOCK-YOU-UP.
1-888-LOCK-YOU-UP.
Thank you, sir. 1-888-LOCK-YOU-UP. No longer the 800 number. Thank you, sir. All right. So we're going to talk about some of the incidents that specifically took place over the last month or so, specifically in the last few weeks. October the 12th, we had a shooting incident that took place in the 300 block of London Street, where we had a lady who was sleeping in her bed. Bullet came through the wall and struck her, Miss McManus. That incident was linked to a domestic situation where video is seen between two male and a female fighting in the parking garage. At this time, we have not been able to identify the actual assailant that committed the shooting itself. However, we have recovered the vehicle associated with the homicide, or I'm sorry, with the shooting. What's important to know about this is that we have a victim who was minding her business, sleeping in her home. And based on activities that were going on within the city that night, based on basic conflict resolution that was not utilized, we had a bullet go through a wall and strike someone. We're imploring anybody with information about this, that anybody that has it, obviously this is being recorded and streamed live. We're asking you to come forward. You can remain anonymous, but we need information on this particular incident. We're going to talk a little bit more about the reckless driving and vandalism that was seen out on Garwood and Greenwood. I'm sure some of you have seen that, the car takeover situation. Later on that same night, we also had a shooting that occurred in the 300 block of High Street. Many of you have seen that video played out on Wavy. Again, associated with individuals attending or going to or coming from businesses in our downtown area. That shooting was related to two men fighting over a female. Two grown men fighting over a female. And you chose the downtown area to settle that difference. My detectives continue to work through this case. They've made a lot of progress on it, and we hope to be able to bring somebody to justice on this. Currently, the victim is still with us, thankfully. But as we move forward and talk about these issues, we want to make sure that we highlight how serious this stuff is. So as we talk about our violence, specifically in our downtown business corridor, these are some of the situations and locations that we've had to address over the last, since August. 300 block of Fort Lane, 1134 London Boulevard, 1106 London Boulevard, 1315 London, 271 Webster, 459 Effingham Street, 1106 London Boulevard, and 339 High Street. These are all incidents where we had an act of violence since August in our downtown corridor, specifically in our business area. We believe this increase in violence is a result of businesses and or clubs in this area. We're working with our city services to ensure that businesses are up to code, following the rules to assist in deterring further violence and increasing presence in the area. Now, I'll go into a little bit more specificity about what we're actually doing later on in the presentation, but I can tell you there's been some conversation with the owner of that business who has plans to shut that part of the business down within the next 30 days. Now, we've also had a rash of shootings in our Churchland area of the city, specifically North Churchland off Twin Pines and Town Point Road. We've had 3 specific incidents, some captured on video, starting on in August 1st in the area of Centenary Drive, October the 10th in Twin Pines Road, and then October 13th on Gateway Drive. On October the 15th, one of my fine officers was patrolling in the area based on information that was received and put out, again, with the utilization of our flock cameras for a suspect vehicle. He observed that vehicle and was able to stop it during a traffic stop. During the search of that vehicle, he identified and recovered 2 firearms and subsequently charged 3 individuals who were associated with those shootings. Since those individuals have been taken into custody, we have not had any additional incidents in that area. Now, we're not doing Keystone Cop stuff. We're not just putting people out and just asking them to go and do their best that they can. We're using the data that we get based on the calls for service, based on the information that's provided, based on the reports that we take. This is just a sampling of a week, October the 4th through the 6th. So we're talking 2 days, right? Within 2 days, we had 119 calls for service in this particular area. 119. Those calls consist of the top 3 calls: assist a citizen, burglar alarms, and check the welfare. Now, what we do with that data is we take that information and we ask our officers to do certain things. These are your problem locations. These are your problem people. These are the situations that you should be aware of and that you should be looking out for. These are the vehicles that frequent this area. These are the known gang members in this area. All of these things that we're asking our officers to do, but this is in their spare time. Because remember, calls for service take priority. When citizens call, they expect someone to come. So when they have free time, we want them to do all those things. Now, I wanted to highlight the fact that since between January and September, we had 13,000 calls for service. 13,000 calls for service. And those calls for service, when you look at the second graph, each one of you citizens fall into one of those areas. So if you live in, say, Old Town, or if you have a business here, you would fall into the 211 zone. You can look at that graph and see that 211 zone represents about 9% of our calls for service, approximately 1,200 calls. And these are not no self-initiated call is in there, meaning there's no traffic stops, there's no foot patrols, there's no officer getting out. These are all phone calls to the police. These are, and I also want to put in the fact that there are no calls related to assisted medics. These are all phone-generated phone calls for service to the police department. We'll talk about why that's important a little bit more later, please. Street takeovers. We've been having a serious issue with street takeovers. If you don't know what a street takeover is, I'm going to show you, but I'm also going to try to explain to you the best I can. Street takeovers resemble street races, where you have individuals that take to a certain section. Usually one of the hot spots for us is under the MLK High Street corridor, and they utilize that because it's easy access to the interstate. When we know about these situations, like you can see that there is something being planned for November the 2nd, but there's also something being planned for October the 26th. Here's the problem. We have no idea where it's going to be. We have no idea. It's because we've gotten, one of the things that we did do here in Portsmouth is we put together a task force. We reached out to the surrounding cities to try to get them to be involved with intel. Some of them were more receptive than others. But when we know about these things, we generally try to partner with each other and say, hey, they're coming to your city, they just left our city, so that our individuals can be prepared. But this is very manpower intensive, because remember, calls for service are still going on. When we have a homicide, that generally takes anywhere between 6 to 10 officers to address, to hold down the crime scene, depending on where it is, and if it's outside, it can be more. So again, when you start talking about resources, because we don't have an infinite number of resources, at some point in time, folks have to go home, folks are off, Folks are not working. They've already worked well beyond our policy allowed hours. So we're already doing maximum what we have. But when we talk about these particular things, these street takeovers, a couple of things I want you to highlight. The rules are to cover your tags, wear a mask, block the feds, that's us, we the feds, and have fun. That's the rules. The fear of this is what I'm about to show you now. And again, if you're interested, just Google it. It's all across this country. And it's ridiculous. We've had Isle of Wight had an officer that attempted to stop one, and they jumped on the car. Luckily, it didn't end in a use of force incident. Jumped on the hood of the car. This is right here in the state of, this is right here in Virginia. As you can see, this is a police car that they're right now ripping the license plate off the car. This is an officer responding to a call where they're actively doing donuts and things of that nature. I want you to watch this. Look and see what happens. More advanced. Here's another one. Now, I highlight that because this isn't something that we are just seeing in the movies, right? This is real life. When we make these calls for service and you're wondering why we haven't done something to stop it, this is what my officers are up against right now.
The problem we have is we had people coming in.
That's for another conversation, right? So this is the situation that my officers are going into. Now, I've been responding to one of those situations and seeing individuals with ARs hanging out of the windows as they're doing donuts, standing with shots being fired. Me, myself, right on High Street. This isn't an easy situation to wrap our arms around. I can't just say we're going to ram our cars into it to stop it, because guess what? Again, we don't have a plethora of resources to be able to say, you know what, I ran a car, I got another one to fall into. All right, we have to be strategic in the way that we utilize our things. We have to strengthen our laws, but we also have to make sure that when we are able to make an arrest, the ecosystem, right, that is comprised of more than just the police, has to make sure that every part of it is functioning. Understand, let's look at it like a three-legged table. If any one of them fails, then guess what? The table falls. The police department is doing its job. Let me highlight something. Some of you may have seen this. We had a gentleman that lives in this city that had a $100,000 trailer stolen. He recovered about $60,000 of his equipment. We were able to make an arrest. During that time, he went to court yesterday. The individual received 2 years suspended and an $800 fine. What message does that send? What message does that send? So I need everybody to understand. Stephen Jenkins and this Portsmouth Police Department is owning its piece. I stand here ready to talk about and take whatever you have for me and my officers. We're going to own our piece in this. When is somebody else going to ask the others to own their piece? And this is not a political statement. I am really saying, let's make sure that everyone does their part to make sure we're doing what needs to be done. I've asked the community to step up, and they've been doing that. I'm now asking you all to have conversations with those that are in those other pieces and do their part.
That's right.
Do you know we had 11 since January? We've had 13. We've had 13 juveniles who were committed by the court to a facility here in Portsmouth that have escaped. 13. Every single one of them was in there for a violent offense with a firearm. Again, if at some point in time, start to finish, something is not done, just because you arrest them, you adjudicate them, you still have to hold them. And again, we're not talking about arresting our way. We're putting pieces in place to be able to help those who want to be helped. The ones that don't, we have to have a place for them to go.
Absolutely.
And how we address situations like that, how we address them is going to take more than just the police department. When we're able to make an arrest, when those individuals need to be held, we need to be able to confiscate their vehicles. We have to cause them as much discomfort as they're causing us. So what have we done? So let's talk about what we've already done. We've assigned an officer to specifically work in the downtown area. That one officer is there to help the businesses address their issues and concerns. That one officer is your liaison to the city as it relates to issues of homelessness, vandalism, and things of that nature. We've relocated one of our mobile trailers that you see out front to begin to monitor and surveillance the area. We've also assigned one of our security officers to work the weekends from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. in our parking garages. We are increasing our patrols on the weekends, and you should see both visible foot and motor patrols throughout the weekend. We've made a request to Virginia State Police to come in and assist us, just like we are on the list. We are a priority, but we're on the list. Understand, when people make requests, the same way we need help, others need help. So Hopewell and Roanoke and Petersburg and Richmond, places just like us that are having the same issues, all are on the list. As you'll see down a little bit later, that I had a conversation with the Secretary of Public Safety on our issue. I'm not just trying to attack this with what we have. This is all hands on deck. If I could call the National Guard in, I would, but I can't. I have to be realistic with the conversations that we're having. That is called martial law.
That's right.
They have no jurisdiction. They cannot police city streets.
That's right.
Okay? Our federal partners, who are great, who come out and assist us with prosecutions that we try to divert as much to them for them to come and help, but they are not coming and sitting in our police cars and patrolling with us. Let's have real conversation about what we are doing. We're currently working with the city's attorney's office to do criminal blight on 2 of the locations that we talked about earlier. We convey our business task force to identify potential violations. Let me make something else clear. This is the second task force, because there was one in place. This one is working. And we requested a review of city ordinances as it relates to the use of city permits and the language you needed for emergency revocation of those licenses.
That's right.
Now, moving on to staffing, we're talking about these numbers, okay? You'll see that right now on that very bottom top one, it says 70 vacancies, okay? When you go over to the other part and come down a little bit where it says police officer trainee, it says 29, there's 9 filled, 20 vacancies. 70 plus 20 is 90. Yeah. I'm not here to sugarcoat it. I'm just letting you know what the reality of what we are dealing with within this department. Let's have some real conversation. It doesn't matter who created the problem. It's my problem to fix right now. I need your help to help me fix it. I'm owning my piece. I don't want to hear the noise that's out here. The people that want to come up and talk about people being fearful, officers being fearful. Did you just see what I showed you responding to a call for service? Tell me how many people would be willing to do that. But my folks do it every single day. But we got a nerve to say somebody's scared. Let's have some real conversation. This ain't an easy job. Nobody's knocking on the door to do this. Consequences, words matter. When we go on Faces of Portsmouth and Voices and talk about, oh, what the police are doing, what they aren't doing, it matters. Yes, it does. Because our officers are looking at it. They see what you say. And when they're unappreciated, you know what they do? They pack their bag and leave. Why stay somewhere where you're underappreciated? Listen, I want you to understand something. All things considered equal. Let's just say I'm competing with another city. We're talking about pay is comparable. But this city here is a little bit more challenging. Has some more problems. A little bit more hint of danger. Let's talk about your first hour, where one city you may do 10 calls all night. Here you're doing 10 calls your first hour. I just showed you 13,000 calls for service. But we want to be negative about the actions and efforts of the men and women of this department. When are you going to wrap your arms around them and show them some support? You can get rid of me today or tomorrow. The next person that comes in going to have the same issues. When are we going to do something to support this department? That's right. Let's have some real conversation. How many people have sent somebody to this department? Encourage somebody to apply to this department. Heck, answer the challenge yourself. Real conversations. So something else that we're doing to improve our response times. We've created what we have, a power shift. So sometimes you'll call and you'll hear folks are in lineup. Because at some point in time, you have to have a shift coming on and a shift going off. We're already working 12-hour shifts. So we created a power shift to kind of merge the gap. But you have to take something away in order to make something. So that officer, that hopefully that will increase some presence during our busy times. We want to put a more emphasis on our P2C module. the implementation of automated system. Many of you may not know that it actually is up and running, but I'll show you how it works, and I will encourage you, if it's not an emergency and it's a report that can be taken online, to please utilize that module so that the officers can respond and do more proactive policing to address some of our issues and concerns. And finally, and most importantly, civilianization. This is a change and a shift in policing. Everything doesn't require a badge and a gun. 2-vehicle accident, no injuries. What you're going to get here in the city of Portsmouth is a civilian that's going to come and handle your accident. That's what you're going to get. They're going to perform other administrative duties. Your vehicle won't start, keys locked in the car. You're not going to get a police officer with a badge and gun. You're going to get another civilian that's going to come out, help you with your issue, and move on your way. So let's talk about P2C. This is our module. It's currently located on our front part of our web page. If you stroll down, you will see our patch, and under that it says report a crime. When you go to that, this is what it looks like. What's important to know is that all of these things here on your, I guess that's yours left, my right, all of those things represent a different module. So on this, you can go, and I see quite often on our social media pages, our inquiry here recently is, when are we going to put back up the wanted parts? When are we going to put back the incidents and persons of arrest, things of that nature? This captures all of that. Anytime you want to see that, you can go to that police module. You can see all data. You can look at arrest. You can look at incidents that have taken place. You can do searches based on your geographical area and figure out the calls for service and what the crime looks like, or the calls look like in the area that you live in. You can also look at the CAD calls. These are calls that are going on right now. However, based on for officer safety and security, there is an hour delay behind those calls. All right, so you'll notice that the time on that says 11:55. I'm sorry, 17:29 was the last call. We are now at 6:42. You also have a module for officer feedback. When you have a complaint, send it right here. But when they do something good, send that too. When they do something good, send that too. I just don't want to hear all the bad stuff. When somebody does something good, how about you say something good about it? And then the most important part of this is report an incident. You can start your online report right here. And you can go through, you can put your address. It'll ask you, did this occur in the city of Portsmouth? Because believe it or not, we have people that crimes that occur in other cities, but they want to report it here. And I'm not going to go through all of this, but I wanted to show you. These are the calls, and it gives you an explanation of the calls that, or the type of reports that you can do online. You can do threatening phone calls. You can do shopliftings. You can do thefts. You can do thefts from motor vehicles. You can do theft of motor vehicle parts, vandalism, tampering with auto, bad checks, welfare, credit card theft, scams, larceny from buildings, hit and run motor vehicle accidents. We get a tremendous amount of those. Embezzlement, forgery, identity theft, liquor offenses, prostitution, and gambling. You can do a report for every single one of them online. So what does that mean? If you can do it online, that means I don't have to send an officer because it's not an emergency. Now we can really get them to doing what they need to be doing, and that's patrolling our streets. Now, obviously, if you need an officer, we're going to send an officer. I do want you to make sure that you understand that. If you call us, we're coming. But there may be a delay. because we do go on priority calls for service. A priority 1 call, meaning a gunshot life or death situation, is always going to trump a barking dog. I know you feel like that call is the most important thing because I haven't been to sleep and my neighbor's dog won't shut up, but guess what? We're going to get to you as soon as we can. We're going to get to you as soon as we can. I don't want to sit here and paint you a picture that we're going to be super folks and fix your problem in this. We're going to do the best we can with what we have, but I need you to understand what we're doing. I need you to understand what we're up against. So, I've talked for 45 minutes. Now we got question and answer. Okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do this by microphone. So individuals that have a question, want to ask a question, please, if you could, Ms. Washington, raise your hand. If you could, raise your hand. She'll send you the mic. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay.
She's going to ask you to take the mic because we are being recorded, and we want to make sure that those in the audience and streaming, it may be easier because we're so tight. It may be easier to just pass it to them.
Just curious on that case where the trailer was stolen.
Yes, ma'am.
Was it the prosecutors that did a deal, or was it the judge that didn't? Do you know which it was, or is it both? Or what should we do about that? That interests me.
Yes, ma'am. I can't answer that. I can't answer that question. One of the things that we're starting to do is to be able to track those things from start to finish once and get the actual disposition. But we're
convicted and did not spend any time in jail. It's crazy.
Right. One of the things that we oftentimes aren't privy to, with the at least one of the newest judges that is there, is that he now requests that we are consulted and at least made aware of what's going on. Prior to, that was not the case. So oftentimes the officer had no idea the disposition or if there's a deal, or when they come to court, they're just finding out how we worked it out and so on and so forth. So one of the things I would encourage you to do is go to court. If you got a day off, you're retired, you're bored, you want to go, there's some interesting cases down there. We really doing some good work, but go down there and sit and watch and see the process and see how things work. Again, this is not me pointing fingers at anybody. I'm owning my part. We can do better. Let's understand that. We just had that conversation with my detectives right now mad with me. They mad with me, I know, I apologize. Listen, I don't know how else to be. But I told them, we can do better.
We all can.
We all can do better, and that was the message. But guess what? I'm squeezing blood from a turnip.
Well, I want to thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. One of the things I wanted to highlight too before we go forward. So we talked about, we was reported we had 11 shootings in this short time frame. One of the things that wasn't reported is 2 of those shootings were self-inflicted. Right? 2 of them where somebody was messing with a gun and shot themselves. But it's easier to say, somebody else shot me. No, we know you shot yourself. Right? You were messing with your gun, you shot yourself. It happens quite a bit. But our response is still the same. It's still the same. Next person. Yes, sir.
Chief, a couple of things. First, the question is on the administrative folks that will be coming online. If you could share perhaps a timeline for that, I think that would be helpful for the expectation to be set. And number 2 is a statement that I want to make. As you all know, if you don't know, I'm the mayor of the city of Portsmouth. And I want to say this in front of this whole community, that we support our police chief and his department 100%. You know, it's interesting how, and the chief said this, but I'm going to reiterate it. You don't do this job if you don't care about your community. And what I want to reiterate to everybody is everyone in this room's responsibility to support our police department. Because our department will be as strong as the community which undergirds it and supports it. And I want to say to each and every one of you, if you're not a part of the solution, then you need to look at yourself in the mirror, as the chief said. This thing is about accountability. If you see something, you need to say something. And if you don't say something, then you put us all at risk. It's about responsibility and accountability and holding those leaders, elected and otherwise, who you put in office to do the job. Like he said, don't come down here whooping and hollering at the council when we don't have any play in the game. Don't come down here to the police department whooping and hollering to the chief. I'm just as frustrated as he is. You think we want to get calls about people getting hurt and harmed in our city? I can tell you, no, I don't. But at the end of the day, we all need to look in the mirror. We all need to stand forward and say that we support our police department, and we as a community are going to take that stand together to make our community the safest that it can be. Thank you, Chief.
So, sir, to answer your question about timeline, so right now I'm working with, we're obviously within a budget. So right now I'm working with city HR and the city manager to transform those positions. The great part of this is we're using what we already have. We're not making a negative impact to the budget. Obviously, we have some vacancies. We aren't taking police officer positions away, but we're converting some other positions, part-time security officers, things that have not been used in a number of years, and we're converting those positions to be able to take some of those civilian responsibilities. Again, we're looking at this holistically through a different lens. Again, if we look at our partners to the west, half of their police department in England and London don't even carry guns. All right? But I also know that they don't have the same issue that we have. They don't have the love affair with guns that we do. Yes, sir.
How short are we of the number of officers we need?
I know how short we are of what we're allocated. I cannot tell you even in that the number that we're allocated. I can't tell you based on our current data. We're looking at doing. We recently did a work study. We're looking to expand that work study to look at, based on our number of violence, based on our per capita, how many officers that we should have. But again, we have to get to our complement right now before we even start thinking about going over that. I just want to get to fill those 90, and then we can start looking at, just think about if you had a little bit. So I'm gonna be completely transparent. You're asking me right now to play a championship football game against Tom Brady at his prime with 6 players, and you're expecting me to win. That's what's going on right now. You're expecting me to go out here and compete and expecting me to win. Here's the part. Even with what we have, we're still making a difference. Imagine if we had what we needed, then I could take 20 officers and say, hey, that problem right there, I need it gone, and I need it gone in a week. I know my 20 would do it because the little bit I have right now are busting their hindparts. Sorry, go ahead, sir.
All right. You asked how we could help support you. Is it a matter of going in front of city council, asking for increased pay for the officers so we're in a position of strength when it comes to other cities in Hampton Roads area? Is it a matter of voting out other people in other elected positions who don't have the same point of view of policing? Are there other areas that need our support and help as citizens and civic leaders in this area?
Sir, that's a difficult question. I am not a politician. I work for politicians.
No, but numbers matter.
I understand. So listen to what I'm about to say, sir. And I'm gonna I don't know but one way to be. Okay. So there's an expectation that we all should have for a level of service within our city. If that level of service is not up to your expectation, then you change that, whatever that looks like. All I'm saying is whatever that is, we go and find out what the expectation is of them. That's it. So I'm not here to point fingers. I'm taking my blame in this, right? That's all that I can do. I'm taking my blame in this. But I know folks are smart enough to understand there's a whole ecosystem of public safety, which includes the community.
That's right.
If any part of that fails, the system fails.
That's right.
So basic history, social studies, we all learned about it in school. We know that ecosystem of the justice system. I'm the police. That's all I can deal with. Yes, sir.
Excuse me. I was wondering if you could comment a little bit about on gangs.
Yes.
I'm not talking about motorcycle gangs, but at the high school level,
Yeah.
apparently there are some gangs that exist, and it's the type of thing that I'm in one gang, you're in another gang, and if I want to be in your gang, I have to prove myself by shooting somebody or doing something to that effect. I mean, this may not even be an issue, I hope not.
So, no, sir, no, 100%. So, yes, we have gangs in this city. I know that's hard for some people, don't want to acknowledge that, but yeah, we have gangs in this city. But we also have groups, and it's important to characterize the two. Some are grouped by neighborhood. I live here versus here. There's a level of, there's considered protection within groups, if that makes sense, all right? But yes, we do have gangs, and a lot of those gangs that we have national sets of gangs, Bloods, Crips, Gangster Disciples, things of that nature, but we also have local gangs, those individuals that have grouped themselves together based on maybe the death of a friend, based on an affiliation to a neighborhood, things of that nature. The criminal element is what makes a group a gang, right? That's why I want to be careful about how we characterize some of our folks. Just because we see a group of folks hanging on the corner doesn't necessarily make them a gang. It's the activities that they do, especially criminal at nature, that make them a gang, okay? So we do have an issue with that. We work every day to try to identify that. One of the challenges is that those situations that occur in school sometimes spill out onto our streets and vice versa. So we work very closely with our sheriff's department, who now handles the school resource officer component for us, for the city, to be able to make sure that we work with the school system to be able to identify those individuals. And again, we're offering those ones that don't want to be in that lifestyle, we're offering them resources. We did a presentation earlier today with a lot of our funded nonprofits and things of that nature about some of the initiatives and partnerships that we're looking to create to be able to offer to support to some of our folks who are frankly struggling with this situation. But those are the ones that are out here committing acts of violence, that are out here shooting folks, we got to get them up out of here. It's just that simple, right? We can't wait on, we already know, we've talked about it for months and months and months, about we don't have a juvenile facility. Now we got a regional jail, or about to have a regional jail. When are we gonna start having the conversation about the transition for that? That's not just, hey, we're gonna pop. Sometimes things take too long, okay? I don't know, again, I'm gonna reiterate, I'm the police chief. I wanna do police chief stuff. I'm just being honest with you. I just need somebody to take their part in this part of the ecosystem. That's it. I hope I answered your question, sir.
Chief,
I'm sorry. Yes, sir, go ahead.
right on the same line of that, you mentioned that 10, 11 to 13 youth were detained and they escaped. Could you elaborate more?
Yes, sir. So from what I know of the situation, they've been, and I want to publicly put the name out, but they were committed to a facility here in the city. Obviously that facility isn't as secure as it needs to be able to house violent offenders. It's no secret that we are shipping our youth all across the state because of our lack of a facility for our juveniles. And so I'm sure that the courts and juvenile justice are trying to utilize whatever they can to be able to find placement for our youth. You know, again, they need access to their attorney. They're still kids. They need access to support from their family. Again, I don't know the solution to that. I just know that this is a problem that we have that needs to be figured out.
So are these kids from Portsmouth, or they might be from different cities?
They are adjudicated here in Portsmouth. So the crime was committed here in Portsmouth, and they were convicted. So from what I will tell you is that's the most I will get into that. So most of them have absconded to wherever, and so now we're back at square one, having to go back out and search for them again, try to locate them again, additional time, additional resources to find these folks who we've already found once, but we did not complete the process.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, Dr. Jackson. I have 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
What percentage of handguns have been confiscated since the beginning of this year? Any idea? Is that an ongoing campaign?
Yes, sir. So I do not have that number for you, but I will get it for you. I will get it to you and include it in this presentation when we email it out. What I can tell you is I have been reporting that out pretty much quarterly about the number of firearms that we've had. One of the things that we were briefed on, and I don't want to give you an inaccurate number. One of the things we talked about earlier on in the week is the number of reports that we've gotten where an individual says that a person robbed me of my handgun. Let me repeat that. A person robbed me of my handgun. Meaning you had a gun and you didn't defend yourself. We're looking at that as more of a potential for a straw purchase, where you had a gun, you either sold it for drugs or you purchased the gun and you gave it to this individual, and now you make a police report, because right now it's illegal to own a fire, it's illegal not to report a stolen firearm or a lost firearm. And we've noticed a significant amount, a number of that. But I'll make sure I get that for you and include in this presentation.
Number 2.
Yes, sir.
How can the church better help you, either maximize you in the position and condition that you're in?
Show up. So, you know, we had this, yes, sir, we had this, yeah, we had this conversation. So, church used to be the cornerstone for morality, used to be the cornerstone for information, used to be a lot of things, right? We've kind of closed ranks for whatever reason. And out of fear, out of being out of touch, whatever the case may be, we don't have that connection to what's going on in these neighborhoods. If you go to most churches, in which I visit quite a few of them, the one thing that you don't see in church is young people. They're not there. And if you are going to meet these kids, if you're going to meet these young people, you need to meet them where they are, right? The acceptance of, okay, if I show up to church and all I got is these jeans, you can't look at this kid like, why you here? You got to accept them where they are. But more importantly, how about we got to go where they are, right? We got to do things different. We as a city, we've been offering jobs for about 2 or 3 years. All these little partnerships, all these different initiatives that we put together, CDLs, nursing, you name it. We got a lot of stuff for people. Here's the thing, they weren't coming down here to get it. So one of the things that I've been working with economic development, we did one today, is we've been taking the jobs and the resources to them. We did one at the Wesley Center today. We did one in London Oaks. We did one in Southside Gardens. We did one in Dale's Home. We're taking the jobs to them. We're taking the excuse away. Here's the thing, should that be the police chief's job? But I'm doing my part, right? I don't care. I'm doing my part, sir. I don't want to get tied into anything that anybody else thinks I should be doing. Everybody's got a part to play in this. This police department is doing everything we can. Whether or not you agree with a reset walk, whether or not you agree with a community walk or coffee with a cop. The first thing we hear is when we talk about community policing and building trust and things of this nature is, well, you need to get out in the community. And then when we come out in the community, we get people on social media and say, why you out here? What is this doing to stop crime? You can't have it both ways. Okay, let's understand what we're talking about. You cannot have it both ways. Either you want the police in your neighborhood or you don't.
That's right.
So when we open ourselves up and you see us at a coffee shop waiting to come and talk to engage with you in a non-traditional way, outside of a call for service, where attitudes are heightened, we're asking you to come out and have a conversation about what's going on in the city, something we may not know. Maybe you might want to know a little bit of something else about me that might say, you know what, Jenkins is actually a human. Our folks are more than just a uniform. These same conversations, we talk about breaking barriers and building bridges within the community. We talk about this all the time, lack of trust, lack of respect. But when we come out there, we're demonized for being out there. And how do I know? Because I just saw it. Some of them even had the nerve to be retired police officers. That's right. I'm going to tell it all.
That's right. Tell them.
Some of them had the nerve to be retired police officers. You don't have to agree to what the way this police department is being ran right now. You're either part of the problem or the solution. We're doing everything we can to engage with our folks to fix what we have going on. That's it. That's all we know how to do. We're throwing everything we got at it. We're doing it. And so you don't have to agree. The reset walk is not intended to stop crime. It's intended to check on the community after a major incident. It's intended for that. It's intended for us to go out and say, hey, you had a major incident. How can we be here to at least try? Maybe we identify a witness. Maybe we pick up some evidence. Maybe we give somebody who saw something traumatic a voice or a resource that they need. That's the reason for a reset walk. The community walk is lighthearted. We're here for y'all. How you doing? Two totally different things. People got to understand and make it make sense, sir. Make it make sense for us. You cannot have it two ways. One minute you're saying, well, we want zero tolerance policing, and then one of my officers cracks somebody in the head, we got folks marching in the street. Where's the support? We got to make it easier. We got to determine how we want this place to be policed. We got to make that determined. You tell me what you want, I'll give you what you want. But I need, once you tell me and I give it to you, make sure that you support your decision. That's the part that I'm trying to let everybody know. I will give you everything that you want. My folks will give you everything that you want. But then when we give it to you, we need your support. 100%. Go ahead, sir.
Chief, first of all, I want to thank you for your passion. I have never seen a police chief as candid and as full of passion like you are for what you're doing, and that's to make this city a safer place for all of us. But my question is, we know about the gap on the number of officers. Speak to retention. I know we all have seen billboards in the past where our sister cities are paying bonuses, hiring bonuses to recruit, in some cases, our police officers. My question to you, do you feel that's effective? And if so, what what can the city council do? As you know, the budget process is starting. And what tools, whether it be retention bonuses, signing bonuses, more cars, you name it. What can we do as a council during this budget process that you don't currently have now, but you could use to fight these bad guys?
Yes, sir. Thank you for your question, Mr. Moody. Who wouldn't want a Portsmouth police officer? Some of the best trained, most proactive, most experienced. I'll give you a 1-year police officer in this city versus most police officers that got 5 years. Yeah, they come and take our people in a heartbeat. 100%. And so, while we sat last night and we listened to the spirited and necessary plea from our teachers, same conversation our cops, public safety has been having for years. When we talked about collective bargaining, I think everybody remembers my stance on that, and it hasn't changed. But I understand. I understand because I've been here in this city the entire time, and I remember the promises, thoughts that we were going to receive this and we didn't, and the thought process of when we had a pay plan and it wasn't funded, and you get to this point where the next thing that you see is, oh, but I'm supposed to be there, but it wasn't funded. Those things matter 100%. If you want the best, you have to pay to be the best. That 100%. We can no longer continue this conversation and dialogue that we can't have this dialogue that, you know, because we're a struggling city, we can't do certain things. We just can't, right? I understand our teachers are 100% important. But when you talk, but in my mind, everything starts with public safety. If you want safe, productive, smart students, schools, they gotta feel safe to be able to go to school and do what they do. If you want businesses to come into this city, if you want young people to come into this city, if anything, it starts with public safety. People have to know that they're safe here, they're gonna wanna move here, and so we're gonna have to make some heavy investments into this police force. One of the challenges I got going on right now is I got a number of people. Raise your hand if you can retire, you're a police officer. So I want you to understand what we're talking about right now. I got a number of my command staff, upper senior management of this police department that can leave right now. So, yeah, I can replace the body, maybe, but I can't replace the institutional knowledge. I can't replace the training. That's not easily replaceable. So what are we doing to encourage people to stay? Right? What are we doing to put those things in place? So, you know, right now, this building that we're in is a converted museum. It's adequate for us right now. But again, if I'm trying to attract and maintain the best and the brightest, we need a police department. We need the ability to train our own police officers to work in an urban environment. Right now, we go to a regional academy. Sufficient. No knock on the regional academy, but we're in Portsmouth. We need to stop comparing ourselves to every other city. We are unique. We're not like the beach. We're not like Chesapeake. We're not like Suffolk. We are not. We are a different city with different challenges. So when we start having real conversation and we start looking at, here is what we've done to this police department historically. We'll move you over here. We'll put you in this little cubby hole over here. We'll build this up for you over here and make it good enough. That's what we've done for the last 25 years since I've been here. We need a police department. That needs to happen faster than you can say. We need a place to go. Something that you, as a citizen, can be proud to come into. Because many people will tell you, I open this building up to any citizen that needs to have space. You got something that's viable, that to have a meeting, this is open for you. But I need it nice enough for you to be able to come into, because we need other people who are coming into our city not to be embarrassed by your facilities. That's it. So right now I'm working on a comprehensive list to give to council, to the city manager, of things I would like to see. But I'm also realistic. I'm realistic, but we got to do something. If you want the best, you're going to have to make us the best. I've already told my folks my goal, and that was to be the best police department in the state of Virginia. People will laugh when you say that. I'm not laughing. Next.
So
Yes.
My question is similar to what the gentleman just asked a few minutes ago. And so I'm a pastor of a church in the Churchland area. And so I guess my question is, how do we know what to do to help? And I say that, and who to reach out to know how to help. There was a recent shooting, the one on Twin Pines Road, and it was brand new to us.
Yeah.
We are a congregation, a thriving congregation. We have every generation represented.
Yeah.
You know, from babies all the way up to 80-year-olds. And
Yeah.
so we value whether they're teenagers or youth, and then we hear that there is gang activity and all that. Our congregation we want to partner.
Yes.
But we don't know what to do.
Right.
And so I took the time, I made a lot of phone calls, I reached out to different individuals and got just switched from department to department, or this person is not there and this person is not answering, to the point where we just got frustrated and we're like, we want to help. We're going to the police department to help, but no one is giving us answers of how to help you guys and what we can do to partner. And so that's really important to us, because we're seeing, teenagers, we have video footage of teenagers that are walking around with assault rifles in their hands, but who do we go to? We don't know who to go to.
Right.
And it's very frustrating for us, because we're having to make changes, we're having to up our security at our church, and we don't want to strain our people, because they have security training, but they are not
Police.
guys.
Absolutely.
And so we, our trunk or treat thing that we do on October 31st, we moved all of that to the daytime, because we don't want to pose a risk at night from activity in the area that is foreign to us. And so what we're saying is, this is brand new to us, but we need somebody to tell us what to do and how to help, because we're reaching out for that. And I don't know if there's people that are in the office that don't have all the right information, but they're not directing you to the right place. It's not a priority when you talk to them, and it's like it's just another call, and they're giving it off to another person. So if somebody can help me with that, you kind of answered him, but for me, I need more specifics.
I'm going to give it to you. And as I told you, I'm owning everything that is in my wheelhouse, because I told you we can do better, right? So the young lady that's standing right there beside you, that was behind you in the pink, that is our brand new Portsmouth United coordinator, right? An initiative that's a city initiative where we're uniting every stakeholder that wants to be involved, including our businesses. Every nonprofit that wants to be involved, every church that wants to be involved and know what's going on, we're asking them to join Portsmouth United, to be a part of that ecosystem as we continue to build out our ecosystem of public safety. That young lady has all the information and questions to be able to answer, but in addition to that, we're also going to have weekly meetings to educate the community about what's going on, what services will be provided, and what situations that are going on within neighborhoods, so that we can make sure, again, the community is the medicine for this. The police department is going to try to tell you where we need you to try to fill some of these gaps, right? If they don't accept your help, then that's when we can step in and say, you know what? Now we got to find another place for you to go. Call it the carrot and the stick. Call it that. Call it, hey, if you want a job, you want us to help you, here's the job for you. But if you're going to be out here shooting folks and committing crime, here's a jail cell for you. It's literally just simple. So Ms. Matthews will be able to help you. Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Hey, sir.
You spoke earlier about the number of juveniles that have escaped and that are loose in the community, and that's going to be resources the police department's going to have to spend going out and trying to locate them again. But just to refresh the recollection of some folks, can you talk a little bit about Officer Angela cleaning White and what happened when she attempted to bring a 15-year-old into custody single-handedly a couple of years ago? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all, yeah, understood. So Angelina Boccalini was a police officer here with us, had been on a couple of years, young, energetic police officer. Came in contact with a juvenile who was 15 years old, who was wanted. At that time, we had a rash of robberies going on that was associated with this app where folks sell things. And he was a part of that group. So she came in contact with him, was familiar with him, knew that we were looking for him. And when she got him, she put him in custody. And at the time, she did not consider him to be a threat. So she got him. He was listed as a runaway. She put him in the back of the car. At the time that she realized that he was wanted, after running his information, she then got him out of the car, and as she was attempting to put him in handcuffs, he pulled a gun from his waistband and shot her. She unfortunately is no longer a police officer, and today continues to battle the scars and trauma of that decision that she made to engage him that day. These situations with these juveniles is for real. Love our kids, but when these kids tell you they're going to do something, please believe it. Let's stop taking this for granted. Let's stop taking these kids for granted. They're not us. They're not doing the let's go out in the back and circle up. You put your mama on the shoulder and I got your mama on the shoulder and the first one knock off and we're going to fight. And then at the end, we're going to go home. And if you got the best of me today, then we'll do it tomorrow until we become friends. They're not doing that. When they are disrespected, and again, everybody's got a different level of what disrespect is. But disrespect, if you don't know the definition, I'm gonna give you a plain one. A plain one is when somebody's done something to you and you don't like it. It's just that simple. You feel some type of way based on something somebody did to you or said to you. That's enough in their mind, whether it be a social media post, whether it be an ill-spoken word, for some of them to point a gun at you and shoot you. It literally is that. Now, am I saying that to be fearful of them? Absolutely not. Because these are the same kids that are crying out for structure, for guidance, for parenting, for everything. They need our support. They are looking for us to give them guidance. When did we make it, when did we turn over the power to children? We've depowered, we've taken away power from the teachers, we've taken away power from the police department, the parents can't do nothing with them, but the kids got all the power. Come on. What, make it make sense. And I'm sorry, this meeting's probably going longer than I intended to, but y'all came, so I got you here, so hey. So, you know, we get calls about hey, there's a person walking down the street and he's got a firearm. People, y'all live in the state of Virginia, the Wild Wild West. It is not illegal to walk down the street with a firearm open carry. The only thing is illegal if I take my shirt and cover that firearm, now it's concealed, and you must have a permit to do that. We've seen pictures of folks with assault rifles standing in line at grocery stores. It's not illegal. The business can ban them, but the police department cannot legally go to someone and question them about the status of their firearm. They cannot do it. If we want something changed, and again, I know that there are more amendments than just the first and second, and the fourth. So if we want something changed, we got to start with that. But right now in this state, open carry is law. And so if a person's walking down with a clip hanging out of their pocket, at least I know he's got it. We can't do anything about that. Yes, sir.
So, first of all, I don't know what I hear. I want to make a comment. Because I heard a lot of asking about what can we do inside communities. Pastor, I actually live out Long Point. I was there. So I operate in the capacity, something that's new. I heard a lot of people here saying about bad guys or people that's this. Every person that we're trying to deal with now, I was that person in the city of Portsmouth. I was the shooter. I was the drug dealer. I was that person. However, I went from being on that side of the gun to being on the other side. So the first thing I think we need to do is look at the perspective of public safety as being different. Because the narrative in rooms a lot of times will be, why does a police chief and somebody like me have a conversation? This is not normal. I come from a background where I don't talk to law enforcement, I don't deal with politicians, I don't deal with political people. However, I've been trained by the best people in the United States of America that do community violence intervention. There's a new method and tactic that's utilized around the nation to de-escalate violence by bringing in, get y'all things to paper, violence interrupters and tribal messengers. I know a lot of times the question that's presented is, how many more officers do we need? You cannot arrest your way out of crime. It's been proven over the United States of America. You can hire 1 million law enforcement, people that's like me, that had the mindset that I had, I'm gonna find out a way to manipulate your system and win. We have to have people that's invested, that knows it, because when it comes to crime, I've been doing it over 40 years, so I'm a better expert than anybody in the room. I'm smarter than a lot of detectives, I'm smarter than everybody. But what we have to understand is the comprehensive plan that he's talking about and the ecosystem that he's speaking about is being able to reimagine public safety. Sometimes we can't adapt to the new thing because we have been systematically looking at things from a certain perspective. But what I can tell you is a lot of us was here when it was rotary phone, but you got an iPhone there, so don't tell me that you can't change your mindset. So that's how we have to reimagine and reinvent and understand the new methods and tactics. It's something that I always talk about, and I talk to this about everybody. We have a partnership with the law, with the police department where I do violence interruption, as you say. Most of the time when there's a shooting or whatever happens in the city, I get a call from the community before the community calls the police. And we get out there to help de-escalate the situations, provide these measures inside the situations, and we're out there. I always attest to anybody. A lot of times we're talking, I'll be out there, it's something that the chief been saying a lot of times, a lot of people say, and I say this, I grew up in churches, and I say this all the time that you ask, how many times do we walk inside these communities? And we are walking by the fear of God. God say go to the people. The Bible does not say come to him. He say go to the people. And a lot of times we got to go into these neighborhoods and we say we're scared of them. Why are we scared? If I don't fear nothing, and if God got me, I'm going. But it's about partnering with those people to get inside these communities and create the difference. Law enforcement is here to perform a duty. But it's our duty as community people to protect our own communities, police our own communities, do our own blocks. Because we can be in a situation right there and me and him can have an altercation. It's possible. Legally, he can't do nothing. But the community can intervene. When is the community going to start intervening? and stop putting blame on somebody else and ask them to do something that you can do. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So, just a quick comment on what what Mr. Redmond is talking about. So, oftentimes the community knows about a situation well before it comes to the surface. By the time it gets to the level that the police know about it, it's already festered for several months. Like that drug house that always has the cars coming and going. You see it. You've seen it for months. You've inquired about it. You've talked to other neighbors about it. You may have reported it to the police once or twice. By the time it gets to us, they've been in operation for months, right? Those situations like that, how do you partner with the Civic League? How do you partner with your HOAs? How do you partner with your businesses to be able to address those situations like that? Think of it in terms like this, and what the message that what Mr. Redmond is really trying to say. Think about crime in the same method as you would thinking about a person who's on drugs. Most people who are recovering for drugs, they get partnered with a counselor, right? And 9 times out of 10, that counselor used to be a what? Used to be an addict themselves. So they have learned life experience to be able to help individuals based on their experience going through recovery. It's the same concept, taking individuals who have passed to be able to help some of these young people who many of them don't have fathers, don't have strong support systems, and or think about the concept of the village itself. Our village is broke. So we're talking about rebuilding the village, rebuilding the thought process that if I see your child doing something, I'm not going to just out of fear not say anything. I'm going to say something and I'm going to tell you about it. That whole concept. So that is part of what we're trying to do within Portsmouth United. But again, I don't want to mix the two. That part has a role to play, and we're very vested in that, playing our part in that role. But I go back to, I am still the police. And when it gets to a point where everything that Mr. Redmond is offering, everything that Mr. Froy Smith is offering, everything that social service or behavioral health or anybody else is offering and they don't want it, they have to go to jail. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. And this is not talking tough. It's not a race issue. It's not a gender issue. It's about basic civility. Either you're going to stand out and live in the society where our laws are and be governed by them, or there's another place for you. And this goes all the way back to when Jesus walked this earth as he was flanked by 2 robbers. This is nothing new. If crime was easy to fix, it would have been fixed long ago. So let's be realistic what we're talking about. This is a real conversation. Mr. Dawson, go ahead, sir.
2 questions for you.
Yes, sir.
One is that business downtown, Miss Sunshine's business. Did you talk about shutting down?
Talking about the business that is across the street, and any decision that the owner of that business made, the police department had no involvement with that. That was a personal decision that owner arrived at to be a good neighbor.
Good. Second question. There's 2 groups in the city now formed to actively combat citizens groups. One of them is a watch group. The other one may turn out to be a vigilante group. I think it would be wise if we could provide some direction to people as to where you think the limits are that citizens groups can become involved, rather than just come to meetings, rather than just the churches get involved. You've asked for some citizen involvement, but we need some direction from the department where they can do, because they want to actively participate in reducing the violence. Can you give some direction?
So let me.
I'm sorry, Chief, we don't want vigilantism in here, and I think it could turn to that if we don't give them some direction.
Yeah, understood. So let me say it this way. Everybody in here should know right from wrong. The same laws that we're talking about governing, that we're talking about the folks that we're trying to get to govern everyone in here as well. I cannot tell you not to safeguard your community, all right? But I need you to be educated and about what safeguarding is, okay? The law says is what a reasonable person would have done if placed in the same set of circumstances. That's what the law says. That has been the standard since the day of time. Am I right, sir? Is what the law says. So when you are a juror in a murder case, were you justified to shoot an individual? You can't shoot a person because they steal your wallet. That's property. You cannot defend property. You can only shoot a person or defend your life with deadly force to protect someone else's life or your life. So you need to understand that before you interject yourself into a situation that you yourself may be escalated, right? The same way we're talking about de-escalation for police, we need to be talking about de-escalation for citizens. What I would ask is that citizens galvanize and form watch groups for their community and report incidents on when they see them, right? Become an extension of the police in the way that we're forming neighborhood watches again. We are patrolling our neighborhoods. We're making sure that the folks, that the Miss Smith who lives by herself and who's 80 years old, that we know that, you know what, she normally leaves a light on and those things like that. That's building the community back again and understanding what's going on within the community and then working with us effectively to be able to address these issues. Again, everything is not a police matter. Some things we can address through code inspection, through zoning. You know, some things can be addressed through other means rather than the police. And again, everybody's got to take their piece back. They got to take their piece back because the police have been the dumping ground for years for everything. We can't do it anymore. We can't. One more question. Yes, sir. How you doing?
Just want to say thank you, Chief, and the officers and detectives. You do a wonderful job. I know it's hard. I'm a business owner on the 300 block down here in Old Town. A few questions about the other weekend.
Yes, sir.
I have talked directly with that business owner, had conversation, and understand that she's going to move her business.
Yes, sir.
The question to you is, how did somebody come up with the idea that opening a after-hours club from 2 to 5 would be a good idea? And in that question, it's just, how did that get through the city? And it's just, because now she's moving it somewhere else.
Right.
Which I've had my conversation with her, and I told her what I thought, so I'm not talking behind her back or anything.
Understood.
I told her exactly what I thought. But, so we have, you know, the police usually is something that is, someone calls or something's already happened. We have to be more preventive.
Yes, sir.
So in this, somehow our city has allowed any building, any event center to become a nightclub. So I've been in the business for 35 years and I do that, you know, I do some of that business. It's dangerous.
Yes, sir.
You add alcohol and that stuff, it makes you have to be on your toes 100% of the time. And it creates an element. You know, so our city leaders are allowing these event spaces to open up. They're allowing promoters to come in and use that first of the night. They're not going to be there the next night. They don't have to care about what occurs. They're gone with their money. They don't pay taxes. They don't do anything. Those are popping up.
Yeah, come here.
Since Norfolk stopped their entertainment stuff, they're all coming to Portsmouth. And so until our city council decides that that is not okay.
One of these.
You know, that's where we got to stop it, because we're allowing that environment to occur. You know, and to make it harder on your job and your officers to try to stop something. You know, and I just want to say that whatever I can do to help you, try to keep communication lines open. That business, you know, across the street from me, you know, will probably be moving somewhere else in Portsmouth.
Yes, sir.
Not all bad, though.
No, well, 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the morning, not much happens good after midnight. Just saying. Just saying.
Yeah, so when asked, we make recommendations about our thought process. You know, obviously we do research on the applicant, you know, things of that nature. And we provide information. They go through a process of zoning, things of that nature. But ultimately, there is a approval process, and whatever that approval process, as I stated in my presentation, I'm asking for a review of ordinances to give a little bit more, I guess, power to whomever is on council to be able to address situations more expeditiously. But again, I have no say in that. Again, I'm the police chief in that aspect, and you know, I probably already said too much, but you know, I mean, it just is what it is. All right, thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. Hey, listen, I have one of these. I have these quarterly in the city. We'll be having another one in January. And I really would like the room to be filled like this again. Because, you know, again, if we really want to understand what's going on, we really got to communicate with each other.